You know, Trevor Engelson was never the kind of man who wanted to chase fame. He wasn't loud, dramatic, or hungry for attention. He just wanted peace. After Meghan walked out of his life, he didn't lash out, didn't sell stories, didn't even whisper a word. He rebuilt himself quietly, a new marriage, kids, and a career he built with his own hands. He stayed invisible, like a man who'd made peace with the past. But now, for the first time, his silence has cracked, and what slipped through that crack feels like thunder. Because according to someone close to him, Trevor once revealed something that changes the way the world sees Meghan Markle. During their marriage, Meghan underwent a hysterectomy, a surgery that makes natural pregnancy impossible. It was a private thing, the kind of truth a husband guards for life. But years later, when Meghan's royal pregnancies turned into global celebrations, Trevor sat back in quiet disbelief. He watched people gush about her glow, defend her from every rumor, and call critics monsters. He stayed silent, but inside, something in him twisted. He didn't want revenge. He wanted honesty. Because Trevor had seen the version of Meghan before the fairy tale, before the palaces and cameras, and what he was seeing now didn't add up. Back then, Meghan was an actress struggling for roles, taking whatever came her way. One of those early gigs was for a low-budget soap opera where she was supposed to play a pregnant woman. The script changed before filming, but Meghan didn't treat it like a wasted effort. Oh no, she practiced. The walk, the belly cradling, the tiny sighs that actresses use to mimic motherhood. She'd stand in front of the mirror, tilt her head, soften her eyes, and breathe like she was carrying a secret heartbeat inside her. It was acting, but she studied it like it was real. Years later, when Trevor saw her standing before the world, hand on belly, smiling that same polished smile, something in him froze. The gestures, the way she swayed, the way she touched her stomach, they were identical to what he'd seen years ago. To everyone else, it looked maternal, glowing, divine. But to Trevor, it looked rehearsed. That's when it hit him. What everyone saw as instinct might actually be performance. Those weren't just moments of pride. They were scenes delivered to perfection. Before Meghan became a duchess, Trevor had already learned something crucial about her. She could cry on command. He used to joke that she didn't need an acting coach, just a mirror. One minute, they'd be having a normal conversation. The next, tears, trembling voice, broken tone, like a movie unfolding in real life. And Trevor would stand there, stunned, not knowing if he was comforting a wife or playing a part in her latest emotional scene. Whenever things got tense, a disagreement, a confrontation, an awkward truth, she'd cry. Instantly, the roles would reverse. Suddenly, she was the victim. He was the villain. The conversation would die, drowned in tears that didn't quite reach her eyes. Trevor began to see it not as emotion, but as strategy. So, when the world later watched Meghan dab the corner of her eye during interviews, even when there was no actual tear, Trevor knew that look. He'd lived with that look. That wasn't pain, that was control. Trevor never went public, never sold his story, but people close to him whispered that he'd once hinted Meghan had serious medical issues, the kind that made natural pregnancy impossible. At the time, no one understood what he meant. But years later, when Meghan's estranged sister Samantha Markle started talking, those old whispers began to make sense. Samantha suggested that Meghan might have had a hysterectomy at just 28. It sounded wild until people remembered Trevor's quiet warnings. Suddenly, those warnings weren't bitterness, they were foreshadowing. And if Samantha's claim was true, then everything the world had believed was built on illusion. Because, let's be honest, the signs were there all along. Meghan's pregnancy timeline never made much sense. One week, she looked completely flat. The next, her belly had ballooned. It shifted, high, low, round, then oddly flat again. People called it lighting, angles, clothes, but some noticed and whispered. Royal watchers said the births themselves felt strangely secretive. The hospital details were never confirmed. There were no doctors proudly stepping forward, no official hospital photos, just silence. Every time someone asked questions, the palace's answers grew shorter, colder. And that's when the whispers of surrogacy began. Surrogacy itself isn't shameful, it's beautiful, a gift of life. But inside the royal family, where bloodlines and births decide centuries of succession, secrecy about something like that, it's dangerous. Because if Meghan couldn't carry a child and yet appeared pregnant, that meant someone else was carrying her baby behind the scenes, and that someone eventually came forward. A woman known only as DL, and the first thing she said shocked everyone. "I carried Archie, and I carried Lilibet." She didn't stutter, she didn't cry. She said it calmly, like a woman who had carried a truth too heavy for too long. She claimed she wasn't a donor or a kind stranger. She was the surrogate, the one who went through the contractions, the sickness, the ultrasounds, while Meghan, she said, performed a pregnancy for cameras. DL said she had been promised privacy and respect. Instead, she was treated like a vessel, something to be hidden once her purpose was done. "I was treated like an object," she said quietly, "like a contract, not a person." And the way she spoke, it wasn't angry, it was certain. That's when everything started to unravel, because DL didn't just have a story, she had proof. She talked about private fertility clinics in Beverly Hills, the secret entrances, the code names on her charts, everything designed to keep her identity hidden. She said she was approached just weeks after Meghan and Harry's wedding. There were meetings, contracts, NDAs. It felt, she said, less like a miracle and more like a project. According to DL, her IVF cycle began right before Meghan's first pregnancy announcement. When Meghan smiled for the cameras, DL was the one feeling morning sickness. When Meghan's due dates hit the papers, DL's doctors were telling her the same. 2 pregnancies, 2 women, 2 timelines. One for the cameras, one behind locked doors. And she didn't stop there. She had paperwork. She showed appointment logs stamped with her ID, embryo transfer schedules that matched Meghan's pregnancy news almost to the day. Ultrasound scans, one from 2019, one from 2020, both showing babies that lined up with Archie and Lilibet. She even produced bank statements, wire transfers from shadow companies linked to Meghan and Harry's financial managers. Regular monthly payments, some late, some missing, some quietly reduced. And then came the most chilling part, the NDA. A contract so thick, so final, it felt designed to erase her voice. But DL's lawyers found something, a loophole. Parts of that NDA weren't valid outside the US. And that single discovery gave her the courage to speak. What she revealed turned rumor into record. Because she wasn't waving screenshots or fan theories, she had documents. Real, dated, signed pieces of a truth that had been buried under royal PR. And for the first time, people started to believe her. Once DL came forward, the world changed. This wasn't a rumor anymore. It was a story with bones, blood, and receipts. She wasn't just another woman seeking fame. She brought files, signed papers, and records that lined up with royal events down to the exact day. Her words didn't sound like a guess. They sounded like memory. And that scared people. Because according to DL, Harry wasn't some innocent prince caught in the fog. He was there, in the rooms, behind tinted windows, signing documents, sitting quietly while everything unfolded. She says he attended her medical appointments in secret, always hidden, always careful. He looked me in the eye, calm, certain, like he knew this was bigger than any of us. And that's when everyone realized this wasn't Meghan's secret alone. It was their secret. Now, people close to Harry say he's been unraveling ever since. They describe him as anxious, snapping at staff, avoiding old friends, and living with a constant fear that someone, somewhere, will speak, or worse, show proof. He checks everything, not for danger, but for exposure, for truth. Because what if the truth finally comes out? When Buckingham Palace caught wind of DL's statements, it wasn't gossip they feared. It was a constitutional crisis. See, royal succession laws are strict. For a child to be in line to the throne, they must be born from the body of the mother. Surrogacy is allowed only with full transparency and official declaration. No secrets, no private deals. But Archie and Lilibet were given royal titles and included in the line of succession. If DL's claims are true and no surrogacy was officially declared, that means the system itself was bypassed. The issue isn't emotional anymore, it's legal. Behind closed doors, whispers say palace officials are terrified. They're quietly asking questions no one ever dared to voice. Did anyone inside know? Were the documents altered? Was the line of succession compromised? And if so, how do you undo a royal record already printed in history books? One former insider summed it up in a